Hey y'all, Candace here from Little Steps Big Happy. I talk about health and fitness for moms. So, today we are tackling a very important subject when it comes to eating well, and that is emotional eating. And so today I'm going to talk about how to recognize it. So, before we get into that, obviously we need to cover why is this important. Why does emotional eating matter? Here's the thing. Emotional eating is not good for you if you're trying to lose weight or get in shape. And I'm laughing because I know how much this is true in my own personal experience. Emotional eating has definitely been my biggest struggle with eating well. I was notorious for cooking pancakes at 9:30 at night when I wasn't hungry because I had had a bad day. That was a total comfort food for me. And the more I kind of started exploring this, the more I recognized how often that this has become a problem, or, was a problem for me. A bad day, I need a treat. A long day, I'm tired, my kids are driving me crazy, let's go make some pancakes. I'm gonna eat some ice cream. I should make some cookies. Who wants brownies, And I would even do this when I'm out and about, like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired, I've been driving around, let's go hit the drive-thru, So many of us don't even realize how often we do this, where strong emotions cause us to go eat. But here's the thing, when we're emotionally eating, we're not eating according to what our bodies need. So we're typically eating more than our bodies need. We're eating food that we're not hungry for, that we're not going to burn off as energy. And so what are we going to do with it? We're going to store it as fat. Yes, hello, weight gain nobody wants, right? So this was definitely an issue for me, and starting to recognize it is definitely absolutely the first step for figuring out how to stop. Okay, so let's go over a few tips for how to recognize when you're emotionally eating. Tip number one, the urge to eat kind of starts in your mind, not in your body. So often when physical hunger comes along, maybe your tummy starts growling, you kind of feel maybe a little bit empty. That's physical hunger. But emotional hunger, usually the first thing we do is we start thinking about how the food's going to taste, right? Like, ooh, that sounds good. Ooh, that tastes good. Typically when it's physical hungry, we're kind of willing to eat whatever gets the job done, right? As long as we don't hate it and we're hungry, that'll work. But when we're emotionally hungry, we're starting to think about how the food's going to taste, right? Like, ooh, that's going to taste good. Or, oh, I could totally go for that. Or, I'm feeling blah, I should eat, right? X, Y, and Z. And just so y'all know, like, almost any strong emotion can trigger this. Boredom, anger, stress, exhaustion, fatigue, happiness. I was a celebratory emotional eater too. Woo, things went great. Let's order pizza, right? Like, all these strong emotions, when you're feeling something and your next thought is what you can eat instead, that is emotional eating. And so those urges to eat, they're not driven by hunger, they're not driven by your body wanting something, like needing food, wanting energy. They're driven by your brain saying, distract me. I got a lot going on, I don't want to feel this way. Or with celebratory eating, this will make this feeling better, right? The food is usually an effort to make you feel better, either more better because you're already feeling good, or better because you're not feeling good. And strong emotions like fatigue and stress, those have been big ones for me. I don't want to feel that way. It doesn't feel good. So my next thought is, go eat this, you'll feel better. That's emotional eating. And although we get that temporary relief, like I mentioned before, it leads to weight gain. It creates unhealthy relationship with food. And if you are trying to lose weight, it is not helping you. Tip number two, another way that you can tell that your urges are caused by emotional eating, an emotional hunger, right, as opposed to physical hunger, is if you're craving something specific. So kind of like I mentioned before, the urge is you're thinking about how it's going to taste, right? And it's that urge to eat something specific. So it's maybe you want something salt, maybe you want something sweet, maybe you're craving carbs or something. That specific craving is not physical hunger, because like I mentioned before, physical hunger, you're willing to eat whatever's going to get the job done. So if you're like, I kind of want something, ooh, maybe some chips, maybe some crackers, that sounds good, but you're not willing to go eat the broccoli in the fridge, you're probably not physical hunger. That's probably an emotion. That's an urge to eat that's driven by something going on up here. Tip number three is if it's been less than 2 hours since your last full meal, it's probably not physical hunger. It's probably something maybe more emotion related. And boredom is one, okay? Like, boredom is an emotion. Boredom will cause you to eat if you're not keeping an eye on it. But yeah, if it's been less than 2 hours and you had a full meal, like, you know, you ate enough that you should be satisfied until then it's probably emotional eating. Something's triggering it. It's not because you're actually hungry. Typically, a full meal will actually last you 3 to 4 hours. So when I say it's been less than 2, that's a pretty conservative guess that your body still has enough food to provide energy. It doesn't actually need to eat. That's something going on that's either emotion triggering you. Very often it is boredom, stress, exhaustion, you know, or even routine, right? Like, that can cause you to be like, oh, this is the time I always eat, even though I ate an hour and a half ago and I had a full meal and I should be fine. Like, those are things that are not triggered by actual physical hunger. So those are the ones where you kind of need to be like, okay, I don't actually need to eat right now. Let me figure out what's behind this. And number 4, the last, and this one's pretty obvious, but if something has triggered you, if you have been feeling a strong emotion, something has happened, your husband ticked you off, your kids have been talking to you mile a minute for the last hour, and your brain has no more space in it, which happens to me all the time, you know, you've had a long day, like, pay attention. If something like that happens and then immediately you have a thought to go eat, then you need to kind of stop that moment and be like, I'm not actually hungry right now. This is not physical hunger. This is a reaction to strong emotions. You know, I'm just looking to feel better. What else can I do to feel better that's not eating? Because like I mentioned before, like, giving into emotional eating creates really unhealthy eating habits. The only problem that food solves is hunger. And so when we use it to solve our emotions and to help us because we've had a bad day, we're really not helping our goal of losing weight, and we're not helping us to develop better habits for coping with those emotions, right? Like, real life has intense emotions, and so if we always turn to food to help us feel better about that, it's going to create a problem because the emotions are going to keep coming, right? Like, I love my kids, but just because I went and had some pizza, they're not going to be less crazy. And so if I'm not willing, you know, if I don't want to be eating pizza all the time, because although that would taste good, it would not help my weight, right? I need better methods of coping when my kids are driving me crazy. And so that's why using food in that is not helpful, especially if you're trying to lose weight, eat healthy, get more fit. You do not want food to be your crutch for dealing with things. So those are some really good ways to recognize that when you're getting that urge to eat, whether it's emotional hunger or physical hunger. If you want to learn some methods for what to do next, like, okay, I know that it's emotional hunger, not physical hunger, but how do I stop wanting to eat, or what do I do, or how do I get past this urge? Go check out my blog. It's littlestepsbighappy.com. I have a whole post about emotional overeating, how to recognize it, how to stop it, and it will really help get you on the road to recognizing those kind of urges and whether or not it's real hunger or emotional hunger, and then what do you do next? How do you get past that moment? I hope y'all are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.